Welcome back to the Too Much Hockey Podcast presented by Kentwood Ford. I'm your host, Joshua Marshall, and we have two of our co hosts with us this evening. Nick, how's it going?
Pretty good. It's an interesting time now that the NHL's playoffs are over for NHL and NBA, and we kind of got a week of agency, and then nothing until the NFL players start reporting in mid-July. So it's a little bit of a calm before the football storm for me.
Yeah, this draft will be pretty interesting. We'll get into that in a second. Our other co host is with us. We have Philip Stockley, Philadelphia. How's it going, Philly?
Not doing too bad. Boy, the oldest son Theo, they lost in the semifinals in ball hockey tonight. So I'm the head coach of that team. So I got to take that one on the chin as head coach. Probably my fault, but
Yeah, you're
you
fired.
know, um, yeah, good season. I just got to give a shout out to the crew over there at Beaumont Ball Hockey League. They run a good league. It was fun. The kids had a great time this year. You got Pat Ketty, you got Dan Milburn, and Roxanne Robb. They did a great job there this year. So next year, if you're in the South Side or Beaumont area, check it out. It was a fun time.
Dan Milburn, is that a name or what for the ball hockey circuit? The
Sure is.
king of the toe drag. So Dan Milburn, if anyone ever watched him or played against him, which I had privilege playing with him and against him, he was the king of the toe drag. So in ball hockey, if you ever see him, Phil, tell him we said that on the 2 months podcast. So
I'll let them know.
yes, all right.
How are you doing, Bosco?
Yeah, just came home from ball hockey myself. 4-3 win. A little pass off the back end, up the wall. Defenseman pinched. The forward Cole made a nice little play, dished it to him, and he went off to score the game-winning goal. His hat-trick goal. We went at 4-3. So we're rolling. We got 2 more games left and then playoffs. So was suspended there. Got slapped on the wrist. So it's not good. So oddly
Maybe
enough,
we'll post the video on the
I don't know if we're doing that. I don't know if we're doing that. So
All right, let's get back on the rails here.
that was
Sorry,
a
buddy.
bad moment for sure, but probably had some laughs. But I do. It's oddly enough on Thursday we play that same team again. So could there be a repeat performance of 25-minute penalty minute for good old Bosco? Who knows? But anyways, people are here to listen to some of our cool takes and everything. Keep in mind, everyone. Obviously, we had Craig Button on last episode. A very, very special guest will be joining us this Wednesday at noon on the 2 Months Hockey Podcast. It'll be his first appearance. I have not told Nick, and I have not told Philadelphia. We're going to play a little guessing game now. Who do you guys think it is? Do you guys want a hint or no?
Yeah, I need a hint.
Okay. He works for TSN. Never been on the podcast before.
Oh,
You guys get, I don't know how many guesses you get each. When you say 2 guesses each, maybe? I don't know. It'd be kind of cool to start this off this way, but.
Chris Johnston.
Oh, he got it.
oh, come on.
Off the hop. Yes, CJ is joining us. Nick gets it right off the hop. So first guess. Philadelphia doesn't get it.
Do I get 2 minutes in the box here? Do I get
You got a 10-minute misconduct, Phil. You're out. Done for the podcast. I'm going to kick you right out right now. So.
All right, go for it.
No, that's a good guess. Yeah, we'll have CJ on. I don't know if you guys are going to join us. It's at noon during the day. So you guys are willing to take time out of your day. You guys want to join us? By all means. But meaning Philadelphia, Nick. I know there's tons of people trying to chime in and want to get in on the podcast itself. But we're still going to honor that. I know we didn't get through it. It was just tough, man. Some of the tweets that you're seeing from some of the guys, and I had a chat with one of them today. It's not the way to go about it when you're pissed off your team lost. It's not there's going at the other media is not the way you want to take care of yourself on that. But just a little help. Yeah, you guys free that day or are you guys working? You guys probably working, right? Lunch break.
We'll see. We'll see what we can do, buddy.
All right, we'll see how it goes.
You
Same
might hear
here.
the Stone Cold Steve Austin music hit, and
Yeah.
here I come.
Are you a CJ fan, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, he's
I
obviously
know you're
one
a
of the
big
best in the
article kind of
business.
guy, so
Yeah, he's clearly one of the best in the business. I read a lot of his stuff, so that's a pretty big time guest. That's awesome.
Yeah, just locked that down to this afternoon. So yeah, so it's pretty cool. Just was chatting with CJ, and yeah, Wednesday at noon we'll do that. It's obviously we do pre-recorded, we don't do live. So we'll see how we get that out. If we get that out as soon as possible, probably because it'd be some news, and we don't want to be late on stuff. So keep an eye on the podcast throughout Wednesday for an announcement when that gets released. But anyways, yeah. So no, I'm looking forward to that. He is one of the best in the business, if not the best in the business. So it's awesome you got it right off the first hop, eh, Phil? Like right, like
I know I didn't even get a chance to. I was gonna say that though.
no, you weren't. Probably, you were probably going to say Joe from the Bridge or something. Maybe you're like Noodles. Oh, Noodles has been on several times before. So no, I'm joking, but really want to get Brian Hayes on. So I've been trying to lock that in too. So it'll be someone throughout the year, and then Gord Miller. Gord Miller will be joining us later in the year as well. It looks like so. We'll see how that goes too. So
Another legend.
yes, 100%. So reaching out to him and in hopes of getting him on. But just a break before what did you guys think of the Craig Button interview before we get into all the news and notes that we have? Nick, what did you think of it?
I
I know you put a
really,
series
really,
of questions forward, so thank you for that. You put four great questions. I think I butchered two of the several names that were there, but anyways, your thoughts of that?
no, it was on. I honestly like thanks for asking my questions, and I was really impressed with like you really see how passionate he is about the draft and about players. He has really really strong opinions about everybody. I was really impressed with how he kind of stuck up for some of the guys like Ryabkin, for example. You know, I liked his comments there. I thought the advice that he was giving about the smaller players, just taking the extra time, and bringing up the difference, between with Alex Turcotte. And I was really, really impressed. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, Phil, your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, obviously, my favorite part was when he said the Flames will be Stanley Cup contenders for years to come. And I love that part. But no, it very always so insightful. And if uh, if you want to like know and get familiar with some of these young kids' names at the draft, go check out Craig Button's stuff because he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, he's up there for sure. So I think he has a tough job at times. I don't know if he watches every single kid that's in the draft, which is hard to do. There's a lot of players listed, right? So, but when he is out there for sure. So like there's only one Craig Button, so it's not like he can get to every single game for every single player if possible. But and I do think like watching, I don't know, what's your thoughts, Nick? In person or TV? What's better? I think in person's better, right?
I prefer in person,
Mm-hmm.
but like I've scouted kids through video before, but usually it's been at the end of the year, and I'll watch a player shifts from games at the beginning of the year, a couple of games in the middle, and a couple of games at the end, and then you get an idea of how they started and see their progression throughout the year and stuff. So, but it's different watching games in person for sure. But I mean, the capabilities now of video, like between Instat and those sites, it's pretty amazing what they can do now. Like you can just go on and watch one player shifts for an entire game, and 18 or 20 minutes later, you basically watched them. So it's, but yeah, I agree. In person is my preferred route for watching players.
Yeah. You, Philly, what do you think?
Yeah, totally in person because you like to see kids' attitudes even like on the bench and stuff like that too. And, you don't always get the full picture when you're watching stuff on TV. So totally same thing. I'd rather watch in person and get a look at these kids that way.
Yeah, so we'll see how things shape up at the draft. It'll be a pretty interesting draft, and there's a lot of moving parts that happen at it for sure. So we'll get to some of that going forward here. But I know Phil, you and I were talking during the day. I know you kind of wanted to come off with a statement here in terms of like some fan reaction, what we're seeing with the videos and the celebrations. Kind of explain what you were explaining to me. I know you want to explain that to listeners.
Yeah, I know we were just talking earlier, and it's awesome. A team wins the cup, they have a good time, but I'm just personally not a big fan of the watching these guys parade around all week, drunk out of their minds, um, partying it up, and honestly, I just feel like it's kind of a bad look for these players and these teams. Like, you win the Stanley Cup. Like, I don't know if you guys like remember like and me and Bosco said it today. It was the Ovechkin Cup where you started just seeing the whole celebration, like the whole week. And I don't know. I'm just not a fan of like the F the Oilers, F McDavid, all the like. I don't know. I maybe I'm a little old school in like the fact that people say you can be a sore loser, but I think you can be a sore winner too. Um, I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm just not a big fan of watching these guys parade around drunk out of their minds, kind of being idiots for days and days on end. I just don't love it.
Nick, your thoughts?
Well, I'm gonna be honest and say that not being on social media, I haven't seen much of this or any of this, to be honest. So I just assumed that they were eating Dairy Queen and getting ready for the parade, but apparently there was more to it than that. I mean, guys are gonna celebrate how they celebrate. I'm never gonna discount how guys want to celebrate. If they want to go crazy, I would probably do the same. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'd probably be off the walls bananas for an entire summer, to be honest. So, I mean, it's the hardest trophy in sports to win. That seems to be the consensus among most people. And I don't know, you win it and you want to enjoy it. So I'm not gonna fault them for having too much fun. But like I said, I haven't really seen anything that they've done. So
They were at Dairy Queen. They were handing out lots there, and then Sam Reinhart was at another fast food restaurant. So they were doing that. They were sober doing that. They might have been had a bunch of IVs pumped into them that morning to do it, but anyways, they were kind of dipping their toes everywhere. It's hey, when you get your chance to win, you're the champs. You get to say everything. I do think there is somewhat maybe a line, I guess you can say. I don't know about the Connor McDavid who's Connor McDavid or whatever Kachuk was saying, and the F McDavid and the F the Oilers. Obviously, it just says what James Duthie, friend of the pod, said. This was the most hated playoff series to date in the Stanley Cup Finals since James Duthie's been around, and James has been around for a lot of finals, and that word got back to him. So it obviously is pretty evident that both these teams hate each other off the ice as well, and it's carried over to a celebration. Um, so I guess you get your opportunity to say what you want. I don't know. We'll see tomorrow because I think Reinhardt, Bennett, and Marchand are all on spit and chicklets. So it'll be interesting here to see if they kind of dived into any of that content, which I'm sure they probably did. And but yeah, anyways, it's something that just happens. I do think you're right there, Phil, and we were talking about it. We really saw this change when the Caps won the cup. So it's kind of been more of a thing lately. I think previous to that, you saw your viral moments of the Corey and the whatnots at the cup parades on the podium, and then that was really it. So you just really saw it for the one day. Now with social media and cameras everywhere, it's a lot more advertised and presented. And it's Twitter's an interesting place to say the least. So and I think only like 25% of the people in the world have a Twitter account. So not
It,
every.
it probably doesn't help that it's in Florida too,
Yeah, like obviously you're
like a
seeing like
party city, but like
yeah,
in
like
Miami, right? Like
yeah. So like it's interesting because like there's a lot of Oiler fans that follow our account. We follow them back. So you do see the celebrations and you're just like, okay, 20 people showed up. Kind of not wrong. There's not a lot of people there compared to what you would think would happen in Canada. Imagine White Ave and Jasper Ave or the Red Mile or Toronto Maple Leaf Square or whatever it would be for a Canadian team that wins. Obviously, the most recent would be White Ave or Jasper Ave because the Oilers were in it, right? So if things flop the other way, how creative are the parties here? There's not a lot to do in this city. So, do they get creative? Do they Do they step out of the box and share it without the province of Alberta? Do they just go everywhere
Well,
but Calgary? I don't know.
no, they should probably do a cross Canada tour because they were Canada's team, right?
Well, they could have done that too. You never know, but it's presented by Boston Pizza. So, um, anyways, but yeah, so we'll see there. But yeah, before we get into the big trade, obviously Nick's a big Flyers fan, so obviously some great news for him today, and what the Flyers were able to do. And I don't know if you saw the tweet. Well, you probably didn't, but this day is very special for the Flyers organization. I don't know if you got that part of the day at all, but I'll share that with you. Nick here, but just a quick comment. Obviously, everyone saw. Just want to address this because there was tons of messages and tons of upset fans, and there's a lot of people that liked it too. But obviously, we went and posted a bunch of videos and pictures of players, why they love their faith, why their relationship with Jesus and is important to them, and obviously you saw what Jacob Chikrin said at the end of the year, and we've seen how Joel Hanley's handled his year as well too with that. And obviously we know Joel, but we don't know Jacob. But we shared a lot of videos, so we had a lot of followers we lost. So we had a lot of upset people. Is this the new direction? It's always been the direction. So either you've not listened or you have not really paid attention, but it has been kind of the direction since day one. It has not really veered. We've gone a little bit more stronger with it over the last few years, but that's where our podcast is at. That's what we like. We don't swear. We have a good situation here. We are happy. Not too long ago, Phil and I had a pretty lucrative offer that we would think that was presented to us before Nick joined us, and to join with another major network. And we decided not to do that because that would be, in our words, maybe. And Phil can kind of say what he wants. I don't know if Nick knows much about it, but we said no because we didn't think it would align with our views and our relationships that we build with the players and the managers and the head coaches and all that too. So we choose not to go down that path and stay true to who we are. I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit more. You're tied into more of the Christianity world than I am, Phil, and I'm still learning a lot. You're a lot more into it than I am, but I'll give you the mic, and say what you want to say and all that.
No, it's no, buddy. You said it. It's. I think it's important that that I can put a podcast out that my kids can listen to, and family friendly for Nick's kids can listen to it. Kids going to hockey can listen to it. Families can listen to it. I just think that's important. Personally, I don't. You can't put some of these other podcasts on with kids in the car because frankly they're kind of gross sometimes and very inappropriate. But no, people want to hear hockey chat. People want to and Elliot Friedman's podcast too. It's good. It's clean. I can let my kids listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
32 Thoughts is great. And I'm sure there's lots of great podcasts out there that my kids can listen to, but yeah, that's just the direction that I would prefer to go with. So yeah, that's all I
Yeah.
got.
Nick, you want to add to any of that, or?
No, I think you guys said it all. I enjoy the way that we have this podcast, so it works for me. I could go either way, but I appreciate that you guys try and make this as family friendly as possible. So I enjoy being a part of it.
Thank you. Yeah, no. So again, if we offended anyone, I guess I'm sorry. We're not going to really change, unfortunately, for your liking. If it's not what you want, then there are a lot of other options for you to listen to. If you are going to stick with us, we appreciate it. We love the support. Our sponsors are with us. Sheena Boychuk Real Estate. We got Shadified, and we got Kentwood Ford. So we're looking to add more if there's others that want to join. But the three that we have are appreciative of the direction that we've gone through here, and that's kind of where we're at. Like, and hey, I've had several conversations with Shadi as well too, in terms of it, and so we're open to anything. Like, we're not like gonna say it has to be this. Like, Shadi's a pretty devoted a man of God. So and that's kind of what our podcast is essentially about. And hey, we've had Biz on and we've had Commodore on, and we've had all these other guys on, and we cater to that when we come on, and so it's but it's part of if fans want to listen to those guys, we'll get them on when we can. So, and they're great people. Like, I don't judge them any differently or look at them any differently, you know. But yeah, I think they're doing a great thing, and their numbers are better than ours, and we have moved up in the rankings, and we appreciate our support to that. 22 in Canada is pretty cool, and we've had over a 1.9 million views on our social media accounts. So we really appreciate that. And any new listeners that we have, it doesn't gain, that we always get a listener, but hey, the numbers are there. The numbers are there. So yeah, we're happy with what we've been able to create and continue to do. So yeah. All right, let's move on to our NHL report, sponsored by Sheena Boychuk Real Estate and Realty by Design, your design approach to real estate. Reach out to Sheena if you're looking at buying or selling your house, or even if you're looking at renting. I believe she can help out with that too, or redesigning your place and fixing it up and decluttering it. She can take care of you for your needs. Nick, you're a Flyers fan. Big trade today, and this day is very, very special in Flyers history. Did you know that? First off,
I did not.
no.
I'm
Okay.
interested to hear what you're going to say.
Okay, so let's I'm just gonna pull it up here. It is pretty interesting. So on this day, for some reason, the Flyers love to make trades. They just do. So in 2011, on this day, June 23rd, they traded Jeff Carter and Mike Richards. So
I remember that day.
yeah. And then a year later, 2012, they traded JVR, James Van Riemsdyk. And then 2014, they traded Scott Hartnell. And then in 2017, they traded the St. Louis to St. Louis, I believe it was Braden Shen, who ended up being the captain of the Blues. And then obviously today they traded for Trevor Zegras, and Ryland Paling went the other way for a 45th and a fourth round pick. Not the return that you would probably overly think, but yeah, it was a day of trades that they love to do on this day. But your thoughts as a Flyers fan and a hockey fan of this move?
I think for the Flyers, I mean, when I first saw the note from you saying that they were getting Zegras, I was like, oh, I wasn't quite sure what they would have to give up. And then when I saw what they did actually give up, I mean, Ryan Paling he's a good bottom six, probably fourth line center that can kill penalties. 45th overall pick. Everybody knows the percentages on how often those guys turn out in a fourth rounder next year. It's a really good buy low situation, I think, for the Flyers. Zegras obviously had his two best seasons in his rookie year and his second year. Both those years he played center predominantly, and then I think when Greg Cronin took over, he kind of shifted him to the wing. He had few more injuries, wasn't quite as productive. And I think in Philadelphia, he's going to get an opportunity to play center more. They're very thin down the middle. They got they Sean Couturier, Noah Cates, who they just signed for another 4 years. They got Zegras. And then that's kind of about it for down the middle. They have Jet Lachenko, who's, he's going to be 19 next year. Maybe this opens up a spot for him. But at the end of the day, when, Phil and I, when we were on the cheap seats, we talked about Matvei Michkov coming over, and my hope was that it would help with the power play, and it kind of didn't. Maybe Zegras will actually be a power play mover, needle mover for them. They really need some help there, and they just need some more skill. He's not for an NHL skater, he's probably just below or at average. His defensive game needs some help, but the Flyers, they need some more skill. They don't score enough goals, and if he can get anywhere close to where he was in the first 2 years, I think this is a good play for him. It would have been funny if they had still had John Tortorella as their coach and they brought in Trevor Zegras. I think that would have been interesting, but hopefully Rick Tocchet can help put him in a position where he can, flourish in Philly. And if he doesn't, then he's only got 1 year left on his deal. So hopefully they're getting a motivated guy who wants a new contract. And but if not, I think that they can just walk away and be like, hey, we tried.
Yeah. Phil, your thoughts on the Duck side of things on this side? Would you say maybe Quenville was like, hey, like, there's a time and a place for the Michigan, there's a time and place for the flip over the net behind the net. Um, and that time has run its course and it's not going to change. And it's just we need a fresh start. We don't need any baggage here. And this is a way of getting him out of there. And, and kind of he has a recipe of making players like Riley Paling being better than kind of what they are. If you go back to what he had in Chicago and all that, there is a recipe where you can turn players like this a little bit better in a lineup, and their role is a little bit more important. But your thoughts from the Duck side of you?
Yeah, like he came into the league like out of a cannon, hey? Like I think we were talking about this earlier. Like in his first game, he got what, hat trick or 4 goals?
Paling, yeah, you got
Yeah.
yeah,
So like the skills there, like this guy can play in the NHL and what better of a coach to kind of get a guy going than Quinville, right? As for Zegras, it's like, yeah, maybe Quinville's like, yeah, you know what? I don't feel like I need him on my roster. So like the rumblings have been around for a while about Zegras, right? Like, is he gonna go? Are they gonna keep him? But um, as for Zegras, it's up to him now, right? Maybe a change of scenery is gonna be the best thing for him.
and he's paired up with his best friend Jamie Drysdale, right, Nick?
Yeah, that's right. So hopefully that helps him get comfortable too. Just back to the Anaheim thing, like I think it's funny, they traded for Chris Kreider, so that took a left wing spot in the top six away. They got Cutter Gauthier, who's playing left wing in the top six. Then at center, they got Leo Carlson, Mason McTavish. So, I mean, Anaheim didn't really have a spot for Zegers anyway. I don't know if he's good enough defensively to be on your third line. So, he kind of there was just not really a spot for him there. So, I mean, whether how much Anaheim had soured on him or wanted to move on from him is obviously only Pat Verbeek really knows. But that I just don't think there was a spot for him in Anaheim, and hopefully, like I said, comes into Philly, him and his buddy Jamie Drysdale can get back to work on that power play and hopefully score some goals. So
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what happens in terms of the future for both players and who wins that trade and who doesn't win the trade. That's obviously a big thing that does kind of somewhat play out at times. But a player that is back in the league, guys, and it's really great to see. And what a contract it is in terms of breaking it down. It just shows you how creative these agents can get in terms of their things. And Pat Brisson is one of the creative general. I mean, agents. He's been touted a lot in terms of would he become a GM one day like Bill Zito did, where Zito was an agent turned GM. But Jonathan Toews is back in the National Hockey League, Phil. And your thoughts with the Jets get him in the term is a 1 year deal, but it's an AAV of 7 million. And if they pay him 7 million, that means they won the Stanley Cup. So that I'm sure the Jets would take that. But how great is it to see Captain Sirius back in the National Hockey League?
Yeah, like regardless of like he's a fantastic hockey player, fantastic leader. Yeah, like you just called him like Captain Serious. Like this guy is a proven winner. Look what he did in Chicago. Um, Obviously, like so great to see him back in the league. Such a fun player to watch. Winnipeg's lucky to have him at any capacity, right? I always think it's a good like feel good story when guys go back to their hometowns um and play. And you know what? Good for the Jets fans. They had a good year last year, but definitely didn't end the way they'd hoped by getting bounced there in round two. So yeah, happy for their fans. Happy for Taves. I think he'll be a good fit there.
Yeah, it's and obviously with Lowry out too, right, Nick? And they'll help slot some minutes in terms of what he's able to do. And I'm sure, he wasn't going to come back if he wasn't ready to come back. So maybe there's a little bit of grace period where people don't judge him too much, but I'm sure once he's getting going and in games, he's going to be an impactful player. Maybe that brings Nick Ehlers back, who's a pending UFA. What are your thoughts, Nick?
No, I agree. He's obviously going to help with a little bit of depth. I think the most of the year will likely be, a little bit of a grace period for him. He's been out of hockey for a couple seasons now, and just you look at the way that contract is structured, and all the bonuses just for hitting games, even just starting at 20. I think it's like 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60 games, he gets a bonus. So, I mean, even Winnipeg, when you watch that, you're like, okay, maybe they're not 100% sure that he's going to be playing 82 this year. And even at the playoff ones, he's got to play at least half the games. So for me, it's always cool, like Phil said, seeing a guy come home. And I mean, Jonathan Toews has, never really played a high level. Like, he's never really played in Canada. Like, he played U18 at Shattuck in Minnesota. Then he went to UND for a couple of years, and then he went to Chicago. So, and he's done a whole bunch of stuff for Hockey Canada. He's won World Junior Championships, World Championships. He's won the Olympics. He's gotten gold medals at all those events, but he's never actually played in Canada for a Canadian team. So I think this will be fun to watch him.
Yeah, it's going to be. He's such a great player, and I remember my brother and I meeting him in 2009 at establishment downtown, and my brother was just kind of starstruck. So it's kind of interesting. It was funny because at the time, we still know Gilbert Brule, but he was playing for the Oilers at the time, and so the Oilers were in this establishment, and then the Blackhawks, and Phil won't like this, but they just pumped the Flames. It was a Thursday night game. They just pumped them like 7-1, 9-1, or something like that. It was like November 2009, and they left Calgary, flew right to Edmonton. They got, the first thing they did is check the hotel and then get to the bar. So they all went out. And so all the Oilers were hanging out, and then they seen all these Blackhawk guys come in, and these two teams are going to play each other on Saturday night. And a few others are like, I'm out of here. A few stayed. There's obviously a connection between Gagne and Cogliano. I think it was more Gagne and Patrick Kane. And so it was kind of interesting. Some of the players left, but obviously Gagne stayed with Kane. I think it was actually Kane's birthday that day too, if I remember correctly. Um, so yeah, it was kind of funny how it all kind of folded. And so my brother and I were at the bar, and we walked by Taves, and Hossa was there too. And so he's kind of like laughed about it. I think it might have been, maybe it was 2011 or something like that. I have to go back and actually look, but it was in that time frame. And then we went to go buy Taves a drink, and he's like, "No, I should be buying you guys a drink." So it was kind of funny, but he was a really nice guy, really stand-up person. And then we shortly left because Brule was like, "We're out of here." So I was like, "Hey, we're out." So we took off, and obviously, yeah, Gilbert Brule will be back in Edmonton on June 30th up until I think July 6th. And he'll be coaching the head coach BC Canucks at the Brick tournament. So it'll be kind of cool there. And I think Max Pacioretty will be coaching as well too. His kid is on the Detroit team, but just a little tie into the Brick, and that tournament is always fun. But yeah, so I thought it was pretty interesting how that all kind of transpired. And yeah, what a great guy he is, and great to see him back in the league after 2 years, and he was able to get hit full bill